The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. So today's webinar is kind of a preview of the upcoming CMS changes that are happening in just about a week and a half on January 15th, so 11 days from now. We're going to be having a system downtime for the day, and the biggest thing that we're going to be doing is rolling out this new CMS functionality. And basically, this is to get the look and feel of BNI Connect and the regional and the chapter and the country level websites to be in line with the branding that has been done on BNI.com. So what I'm going to go through today is we're going to start from scratch and actually create a country website, which you'll find out in a second. The country websites and the regional websites and the chapter websites, they're all now going to use the same tool. And it is an updated CMS tool that will allow us to create these sites. So the concepts of this, regardless of whether you're using a chapter site, a region site, or a country level site, are all the same. There's only some very minor differences between a country level site, a region site, and a chapter site. So couple of things to note about this transition. This is a new CMS, and because it is a whole new tool, we're able to make it so that it's standing side by side with the existing websites that are there. And that's really good news for you guys because it means that there's no huge rush to get this done. I believe Stephen is sending out a communication next week that is requesting that everybody is on these new websites by June of 2018. So that's a nice 6-month window. It doesn't mean that we're automatically going to switch you over on June 1st or anything like that. It means they'll probably start, requesting more urgently at that point that you get back on to these new ones, but it should be fairly easy to do. And the way, Mike Fitton in the global support team has done a phenomenal job working with, our programmers, DB, in order to get these sites so that for the most part, you can kind of create this site, launch it, and be ready to go out of the box. I mean, unless you're going to be doing other things like, adding, a shopping cart or, regional resources or things like that, there's not a whole lot you have to do out of the box. So let's take a look at that and see what this looks like. And again, I'm going to be working with a country level website, and that's simply because I have a domain name for it, so I can actually make it go live, and you guys can actually click on the websites from where you are if you wanted to. So the tool is going to be located the same place that the existing tool is now. And here I did rename this in the system using translations to be, instead of saying Tools CMS, it's Tools Manage Websites. And when you get there, you'll see a tool that says Manage Websites New. And then we'll also, as I mentioned before, the side by side, we have the previous ones as well. So we have the legacy websites, and then we have the new websites. Again, they were going to, the legacy ones will continue to work until you tell us that you're ready to switch over. So let's go into the new functionality, the new tool. And when I go in here, because I'm going in as a system administrator, on the left-hand side, I'll have all three of these options: our country websites, our region websites, and our chapter websites. When you go in as an executive director, for example, you're obviously not going to see the country websites. You'll only see region and chapter. Your chapter webmasters that go in as a chapter webmaster, they will only see the chapter website list. So that's exactly the same way it works now. You'll only have access to see what you're able to see based on your assignments and your permissions within BNI Connect. All right, so you don't have to worry about that. That said, this looks very familiar to the old CMS. We have our name of our websites that we have available, our domain name, what country, last published, creator, our editing, and our deleting. So all of that is the same. Now, the first thing that you're going to have to do when you go in here, you'll probably be under the region website list, but again, I'm going to do this as the country. The first thing you have to do is actually create the website. So this is going to be the first step, is you're just going to click this plus button up in the upper right-hand corner. Go in and add a new website. And here you're going to just put in basically your region name here. I'm going to be doing Antarctica today. So BNI Antarctica. And the domain, we have a special domain here just for our testing purposes. So I'm going to put that in here. This is obviously going to be whatever your region is, bnimass.com or bnirhodeisland.com or bni, dot Spain or whatever it might be. And you would choose your region or your countries that are going to be associated with this. Obviously, if you are a executive director, I know we have Patty Salvucci on the line, who is the executive director for 3 regions in Massachusetts. You can put all 3 regions under the one domain, or you can make them all separately if you want to. So it's completely up to you whether or not you want to do them as one or multiple. After I do this, I click Save Changes. It's going to do a whole bunch of fancy footwork on the back end, create the pages based on the templates that we've created here in the system. And now we have our BNI Antarctica. Now, before I can do anything, I can't go to the site yet because I haven't done anything to it. I haven't published it. The first thing we want to do is we want to go in and edit this. So I'm going to click the little wrench there. And just a quick tour of what we have. So the first page here, this is all of our pages on the website. We have our home page, why join BNI, find a chapter. So whenever there's a page, it then also has a sub page. So core group details, that would be after you get into find a chapter, this is a core group details page. So we have our list of pages here, when it was last modified. Now display off, top, and side. So some of them are locked down, but this will determine where the shortcut goes for accessing that page. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. And the next 2 buttons over here are preview and edit. Now, one thing that's different about the pages here is that you'll see that this first item says page order. And the page order you can actually control. Really, that's going to control how the shortcuts show up, what order those shortcuts will show up in once you get into the website itself. So just so you guys see what I'm talking about, let's go in and take a look at this website as it is. Again, I've done nothing to this website yet except create it, and I'm going to click Publish. All right, and if you want to check it out and click around yourself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this URL into the chat window here. And oops, there we go. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this into the chat window. If you'd like to, you can click around the site yourself. Keep in mind, this is a test site, and it is going to change over the next couple of minutes. And by the way, Mark and Mark both have questions and comments here. Mark Stowe says, is this going to be recorded? Absolutely, this is recorded, and we will get it out there afterwards. And Mark Carmody says, yay for the page order. I'm glad you like that, Mark. All right, so again, without doing anything at all, this is what my site looks like. So it has tons of information on it already with links. It's very professional. By the way, this is mobile friendly. So if I was to resize my screen here down to the size of a mobile phone, this is all mobile friendly. It resizes itself. It works with mobile devices. Native out of the box. You don't have to do anything special to get it to work on a mobile device. So that part of it is good to go. So going back here, so we have our pages and we have our page orders. When we look at this off top side thing, that is, if it's off, it means the page is hidden. If it's top, that means that it is up here among the top links. You know, just like our existing sites now, that's where we have our tabs. Side means that it's in, not really the side, it should say bottom, but it's in this black box to the side of these boxes. All right, so that's what side is. So find a member, regional websites, event calendar, that's all the sides here. So that's find a member, right? That's regional websites, that's event calendar. And again, the order, the weight of these will determine where it is in this list. So if I was to change, let's say, find a member to be 85, then regional websites would show up after that. So Leslie said when we open the page, there is a blank slider 1 right now. There's no picture in there. That's something that will happen. We are still in testing with this, by the way. So we are still making some minor changes to it, making changes to the template. There will be images automatically in there by default, so it won't be blank. You can put in more pictures. You can put in, I'm going to show you how to put some slider pictures in, and you can modify those and put in pictures of your members or things like that. So, but it will come preloaded with a couple of default graphics. Again, in our next release version that we're getting next week in testing, that's going to be done. All right. Spencer says, are they drag and drop for page order? So nope, the page order, these are not drag and drop. So if I wanted to change the page order, for example, if I wanted Why Join BNI to show up after Find a Chapter, what I would do is I'd click Edit. And I don't even know if it's going to let me do this actually. Oh, I can change the page order. I would change this from 10 to, let's say, 25. Click Save. And if I go ahead and preview this, or let me just go back to here, I'm going to publish it. Refresh my page out here. And Find a Chapter is now in front of Why Join BNI. Right? Because that page order has been updated. All right, so Spencer, it is a manual thing. Okay. Dawn says, are we here? We are here. Are you not seeing or hearing anything? If you're not hearing anything, you probably can't hear this, but my recommendation is to disconnect from the webinar and hop back in. Bob asks, will there be a link for BNI University? And right now, no, there will not be a link for BNI University. And the reason for that is that not everybody's on it yet. We are hoping by the end of, I think what I heard earlier was maybe by the end of next year, all of the world will be on BNI University. But right now, it still is in pilot. So we can't put something on there that not everybody has access to. This does have to be universal for the entire world. So does that make sense? All right, Vince asks, what if you inadvertently duplicate the page order number? I don't think it's going to cause any type of an error. It probably will put that one in alphabetical order. Frank, I do have on the line with me. By the way, I forgot to introduce him in the beginning, but Frank Ruiz is here as well. Frank from Outback Solutions. I know he actually manages a lot of your guys' websites that are on the webinar with us today. And he really is the CMS expert of the team. I know enough to be dangerous, but that's about it. Once we start getting into some really technical, complicated questions, I do have to defer that over to Frank. So, Frank, if I duplicate these numbers, it's not going to like crash our website or anything, is it?
Oh, no, it won't crash the website. It will put the system in a situation where it's going to try to come up with its own order, but it's not something that's going to be damaging. So, yeah. It doesn't have to be a unique number, but of course, if you have the same numbers, then the system's not going to be able to order it properly. See, in this case, it didn't change anything.
Right. So it kind of left it there, both at 25, and when I go back to this website, it has kept that in the same order. Actually, it put Why Join BNI first. Now, why it puts Why Join BNI first, I don't know. It's probably at that point because that page was created first from the template, but it's not going to break anything, and it's not going to crash the website. I think that's the important thing.
Part of it's because the Find a Chapter page is a sub page, so it gets shuffled toward the bottom.
Gotcha. That makes sense too. All right. So before I go into the pages themselves to do some playing around there, let's take a look at a couple of other things. Now, we do have some people from other countries on the call with us today as well. I know I see Yernage here. And a couple of other people, I believe, as well. this website is multilingual as well. Out of the box, it is multilingual. You do have to translate it into the multiple languages, but you can add as many basically duplicate language sites as you'd like to. So what we have here is we have our site, and right now it's using English GB because that's the default language of Antarctica. But let's say that I wanted to add a site in another language, Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, Slovenian, whatever I'd like to. I can click the plus button here. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, I go to the languages tab and I can hit the plus button here. I'm still getting used to this new interface as well, so bear with me, everybody. And any language that that country has available to it, let's say I want to put Hrvatski in here, I can enable this, save the changes, and I will have another set of pages for Hrvatski. I can add another one for Dutch if I'd like to. You can have 1, 2, 5, 10 sites. Now they are all separate sites at that point that are linked to the main site, which means that you do have to maintain each of these sites independently. So it's really what it's doing is it's creating another back-end version of your site, but it is using the default template when it does that. So it's something that you do have to go in and now basically go in and you're now modifying this particular site, almost like having different country sites. The difference is it does use your existing pages and page orders and things like that for you to be able to go in and translate and make versions when you get to your page out here. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And what we should see now in our website is where we had one language up here in the upper left-hand side. We now have multiple languages up here, and I could switch this from English to Dutch to Hrvatski, back and forth between those languages. And the browsers should pick up those locales automatically if based on the browser language of the person that's going to that website. All right, so let's take a look at some of these other tabs. That's the languages tab. The settings tab, there are a number of things on the settings tab. The region one is slightly different than this, but it's all essentially the same thing. The number one thing that you want to make sure that you do on here is you want to make sure that you get your Google Map API key. Now, you can use the same one that you're using right now that's on your regional websites or country websites as it is now. You can just copy and paste it. It can be associated with both of them at the same time. That's perfectly fine. But you want to make sure that you copy and paste your Google Map key in there. Without that, the Find a Chapter function will not work. All right, I repeat, without this, the Find a Chapter function will not work. That is a Google Maps plugin, and it does require your own Google Map API key. The Google Map API key is free. The reason that you have to get your own, by the way, is that the free version has a limit to the number of hits per day, and it's something like 100,000, or I don't know the exact number. It's a lot. It's a lot for any individual website. However, we can't just get one for all of BNI because collectively we would hit that number on a daily basis, but no individual region is going to hit that number. And once you have to start paying for it, it is a lot of money. So it's better for each person to have their own. Then you can also run your own analytics on it. If you get an analytics code, also free from Google if you'd like to do that. Some of the stuff on the right-hand side that's a bit over my pay grade. I know that the robots and the sitemap, that has to do with as the websites out there, Google and Yahoo and Bing and all the search engines, as they crawl through the websites. I believe the robots one tells them which pages you don't want them to index, and the sitemap one helps them with the indexing by laying out the website for them. Frank, do you want to add anything to those?
Absolutely. The sitemap is important because that tells Google, hey, these are the pages to my website, and then robots, as Jeremy was just mentioning, that's where you can tell it which pages to skip, or if you have fancy stuff like, don't index outside links. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I mean, you have to really know and have your geek hat on to really understand it all. So, just that, but it's available, and it hasn't been available before, and that's awesome.
Yep. So any of you that are native web designers out there, you'll be very excited to have that kind of thing. For the rest of us mere mortals, it won't hurt anything if you leave those blank. With the social media JavaScript and social media footers, that's to add those, you know how like Facebook and all them, they have those plugins that fold off the side and have floating buttons and all that. I believe that's where you can put those codes in as well. That's correct, Frank?
Absolutely correct. Yeah. If you have any special social media widgets that you're using, that's where you would put that information.
So Frederick has a question. He says, do we have to generate the sitemap XML, or does the system do so? I believe you have to generate it, but I know that Google and other places have XML, sitemap XML free generators that will go through and analyze your site and do that. Frank, do you have any?
Yeah. I've got one that I use a lot of time. It's a sitemap-xml.com. You go there, it indexes your website real quick, searches for everything, and then it comes back and creates a sitemap XML. Then you just copy that code and paste it in there, and you're good to go.
Awesome. Cool. So any other questions on this particular page? It's pretty straightforward. Again, the region one is going to be a little bit different. Let me just get into one of our random regions here. So here's the settings tab for a region. You can see it's mostly the same. The difference is that on the region site, you can put in a location, executive director, and contact, telephone contact, email. And the reason for that actually is because that information, and Frank, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's the information that gets passed up on the country website. One of the differences is it has a link to all of the country's regional websites. And I believe that will end up being the contact information that's passed here, so that you have control over this as opposed to just pulling it randomly, well, not randomly, but pulling it from the database. So if you have a specific, friendly name for the area, or you want to list the certain people as executive director, or give a different phone number, or 1-800 number instead of what's in BNI Connect, you can do that. And of course, we're not going to reveal your email address to anybody. That is, the email address stays behind the scenes. But if you wanted, for example, any inquiries coming from here to go to an info mailbox instead of your personal email, this is where you would set that up under the contact email. All right, but the rest of this is the same. It has the robots, the sitemap, and the Google codes to put in here.
Correct.
All right. Chaz asks, what's that URL for the sitemap generation again?
It's like sitemap, sitemaps-xml or XML sitemaps. I haven't done it in a while, so it's not like off the top of my head, but it's something like that. You can just do a Google search, and Google will tell you.
XML-sitemaps.com, is that it?
Yep, that's it. That sounds like it.
So there you go. Let me drop that into the chat window for you guys. And you should be able to use that. All right. So any other questions on that settings tab? And the regional websites also have the ability to do languages. So you can do multiple languages within the region website as well. All right, and let's just show you guys the chapter websites. Let's open up this one in another tab and take a look at this. Oh, we don't have any here, Shiver.
I think there's one for the U.S. You probably screwed them because there's been a few tests. Oh, there we go.
So let me get a chapter website here. There we go. We have some chapter websites here. And let's just go into the options for the chapter websites. right? And you can see here they don't have the map on theirs, so there's just the Google Analytics code, the robots, and the sitemaps. But you can also do the chapter websites in multiple languages if you choose to. Jason says no social media settings for regional. Apparently not. At this time, there is not these social media snippets. That doesn't mean that you can't put them on the site. It just means that it doesn't have the snippet to put directly in here. Mark Silverman asks, when we go live, do all of the old chapter websites change at that time? So yes, the chapter websites are a sub-site. They're really sub-pages of the regional site, which means that as soon as you go live with your regional websites, all of the chapter websites go live by default, and all the old ones will go away. Now, as soon as you create your regional website, all of those chapter websites get created at the same time. So if you want to give your chapter webmasters a chance to go in and update their chapter websites as soon as you create your region one, even before you go live, you can do that, and they can have access to that at that time. Greg says, assuming this won't impact the app at all, nope, this will not impact the app at all. Frederick said, is there a default chapter website for each chapter, or do we have to create them? There is a default chapter website for each website. It gets created, again, when you first create that region, it'll create all of your existing chapter websites. When you launch a new chapter in BNI Connect, so you convert a core group to a chapter, it also creates that chapter website on the back end as part of that launching the core group process, at which point you can go in and edit it. You do have to publish your regional website after launching a core group in order to make that chapter website go active for the new chapter. Leslie says, will each chapter need to move content like pictures? Yes, everything goes away with the old website. So you are starting over from scratch. This CMS is not compatible with the old one. We are not converting any of the old websites over to this. You have to redo them from scratch. So if they have any photos in their library or they've customized their websites in any way, they will lose them, and they do have to recreate them. So Spencer says, how do we find a member on the new system? I'm not seeing it, or we'll get into that in a second. Andrea says, when you will do the training for the chapter webmasters? That will become part of my ongoing monthly training. I will be just inserting that in starting in February. All right, so let's take a look real quick. Frederick wants to see a chapter website. So let's take a look at a chapter website real quick, and then I'll go in and let's start making some changes. So I need to go back to the United States here, get a chapter website. And let's take a look at this, see if this. All right, so this is what a chapter website looks like out of the box. So still has your thank you for closed business count, a different graphic up here at the top. It has their meeting details. There's a counter for how many members, a visit us link that allows them to register for the meeting. There's still the gallery there. The chapter leadership is listed. And then if we go into show members, that'll take us to the chapter roster, the member list. All of the members are still here. If you click on a member, it has their profile, if they filled it out. Again, this is our test system. There's a lot of scrambled information on here. But all of that, it's really it's a lot of the same structure that the old website had. And again, it is mobile friendly. Let's just bring this down to a mobile size screen here. And this is mobile friendly. Bring us back to the home page. Right? So clickable calling, I'm not 100% sure about that. If this was on a cell phone, it might allow me to click through and call. And the same thing, I don't know if it would recognize this as an address if I was doing this on a cell phone. Not 100% sure about that, but if not, Frank, I don't know if you want to put that in as a suggestion for a future release, is making those things clickable or making sure that they're clickable.
Will do.
Dawn says, do you have a suggested lead time for giving chapter webmasters for getting ready for the change? Dawn, that's completely up to you. Again, there's not a whole lot they have to do on their chapter websites. I mean, if anything, they're going to want to maybe put in some gallery stuff or put in a map to their chapter or something like that. I would say, that's really, it's going to largely depend on your region and really how many of your chapters have actually done anything to their chapter websites. I can tell you that most chapters haven't ever touched their chapter website. So if you have a lot of chapters that have, kudos to you for, getting them interested and wanting to do all of that. But that's going to be kind of a judgment call on your part. But know that there's no turning back, and it is a manual process of getting that. So Mark says, is there a way to download all of the old library photos quickly? Mark, I know you have a boatload of library photos up there. I don't know of a quick and easy way to do that. Do you have any suggestions for that one, Frank?
No, not really. Sadly, the only thing I suggest to do is, and I do this all the time because I'm constantly getting people asking me, hey, I want to change my domain name, which you cannot do. So I have them download all their information, delete the site created with the new domain in them, and upload it. And so typically what I do is go into the library page, click on each individual graphic, and then when it opens up in a new page, right-click on it, save it to the computer, save as image to the computer, and then save it in the same place. And then when you've downloaded it all, then you can just go back to the new site, click on each, and upload, like, I think it's 3 at a time, and be able to get that all back in the library. I know it's a little bit of a pain, but at least that's the fastest way I found to be able to do that, is to just go to the library on the old site, click on the individual images and save them to your computer, and then go to the new site and upload them.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all I could really think of doing there as well. Leslie had a question, and I'm just showing Mark something here. Mark wanted to know what the individual member pages would look like on a mobile device. So this is about what it's going to look like. It resized it, and it's basically one long scrolling page at that point. All right, hopefully that helps, Mark. Leslie has a question about locations for training, chapter meetings, all of that. Well, that's one of the beauties of even using BNI Connect sites to begin with, is that all of that type of information, like the member profiles and everything, the back end of it isn't changing. So BNI Connect itself, the data in BNI Connect is still there and is still valid. So it's just displaying it differently on a newer website. So chapter locations, unless you've gone in and manually put stuff in the pages themselves, then it will pull up all the correct member information, their profile pictures, your event locations, your chapter locations, all of that is saved, so to speak. Hey, Mark, Yernage has a suggestion for you. He says that there's this app out there that can download whole pages on your computer, httrack.com, httrack.com. And I guess that's a download tool for that, httrack.com. All right, so that's might be a way to get all the pictures off of it. Now, HTTPS, is that supported, and do we have to install the certificate? Frank, you want to take that one?
Yeah, at this time, the HTTPS is not supported. That requires getting SSL certificate and a whole bunch of other things.
So HTTPS is not supported at this time. Bob says, is chapter forming updated to show applicants? I do not believe that the chapter forming has applicants. It specifically doesn't list core group members. I know the reason why it never has listed the core group members is to discourage poaching of members, both from competing organizations and from other chapters within the region. So I know that's the reason why it was never put in there to begin with. We'll double check when we look at our region website in a minute. I'm pretty sure that they're not listed still. And Frederick just says that we should get on board with HTTPS soon because I'm sure there will be a Google penalty before long. So I'm pretty sure it's on their radar. Aaron says, can photos be added to the chapter leadership team on the chapter website and also in the contact details, region and country? That's a great suggestion. It can't be done right now, but Frank, if you want to mark that down as a suggestion for a future release, that would be awesome.
Check.
Thank you, Frank. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of pages now. So let's take a look. I know we have mostly executive directors on the call right now, so let's take a look at some of the things on a region website. So let's see. I have let's see if this site actually pops up. Yeah. I don't want to mess with the other testing people's sites. Let me create a new region website real quick. We won't be able to get to this one out in the real world, but let me at least get it up and running here. We'll have to make do with the Claudia just mentioned that the sound keeps going in and out. Is anybody else having trouble with my sound going in and out? I am, by the way, I'm here in Rhode Island, and we are in the middle of a snowstorm. We have 14 inches of snow on the ground right now, and I am doing this webinar from home. So I'm on a different connection than I'm usually in. So I do pause a lot when I'm talking because I'm thinking. So it might just be my annoying pauses when I'm talking. So, all right. So I just created the new Shiver site. Let's take a look at some of the things within the Shiver site and make some changes to it. So again, this is the out-of-the-box regional website with all of these wonderful things on here. Let's go in and just take a look, for example, the home page, and let's make some changes to the home page. So when I go and I click on the edit button here, this is going to bring us into our editor. So up at the top, we already kind of looked at this a little bit before, but this is some of the back end information that will help with your search engine optimization. I'm sure Frank could probably do a 2 or 3 hour session just on that. I'm going to leave that alone for the moment. Just know that it's there. We did cover the page order already. And here below is really, we're working in widgets now. So each section of the website is considered a widget, and that's what you're going to be working on and editing. Just like in the current system, there are certain things that you can't edit directly here because they're pulled directly from the database. So, I mean, we can't edit the name up here. We can't edit these these shortcut links from here. What we have to do is, those are changed when we change the pages within the system. But we have for example, our slider widget here. So if we wanted to change one of the pictures on the slider, we go in and we edit the slider widget. So you can put, how many? You can put 5 images in the slider. Again, it's preloaded with a couple of them. And we have the text, the link, and the image. So first thing, I can go into the library and grab a slider image. And again, these are some default images that they have in here for you. You can upload your own images as well. But let's just go ahead and select this one. if I would like it so that somebody clicks on the slider, that it brings them to a link like www.bni.com, or let's say that you have an image in there promoting a member success program, that it takes them to your event calendar or something like that, or a specific event that you're having. You can do that. You can also have the text on there. And when I save this, and let's go back, and I'm going to hit the preview button. Oh, where's my preview button? There it is. And now I have my, this is, by the way, they asked, what is a slider? This is the slider here. So this is this picture settings here with Stanley here. And if you, basically every 9 seconds, it's going to show a different picture if I had multiple pictures. So let's go back there. Let me put a couple more pictures in there. And Frank, you can't put videos on the slider, can you?
That would be a negative. It's looking for images only. You can have it link, so if you click on the image, it takes you to a video. That would be fine, but you can't have a video itself.
And you don't have to have text on there, by the way. Let's see. Oh, let me get another image. Hey, why doesn't it let me choose this?
Oh, you're using Chrome, and we found a bug where if you're editing the images and you try to add or edit more than one, it won't let you. So you have to add one, save it, and then go back. I know they're working on getting that fixed.
Gotcha. All right, so that's a nice little bug. And we are in testing mode. So, excuse me, we do still have a couple of bugs in the system that we are working on. So let me go back here and get back out to my preview, and now I should have multiple images on here. That every 2 seconds, it should go through and change those images because I changed it to 2 seconds. And you can see here, there's 2 little dots that show us how many images there are and which image you happen to be on, right? So there's my staff to salve and my shaking hands, right? And it'll slide through those automatically. Yeah, 9 seconds is the default, and it can be changed. Let's see, did I miss any other questions here? All right, so cool. So that's this section up here. So you can see that's a widget. This find a chapter is a widget. This text right here is a widget that has this video in here. And then the bottom part is a widget. So let's go back and take a look at a couple of these other things. So for example, we just did our slider widget. We now have this find a chapter widget. So if I wanted to edit this, this will now, certain widgets only allow us to change, for example, the text. So if I want this to say, find a chapter in your area, it would allow me to change that to find a chapter in your area. This widget here, this section, I can edit this. This is really just this heading, the world's leading business organization.
And then the Australians can remove that Z and replace it with an S, so that way it's correct.
So it's organization with an S, absolutely. So Adam says, will the find a chapter box always lay over the top, or is it removable? So there are many things on the page. Again, we're going a lot for branding standards. So certain things you simply cannot change. So the look and feel of this is that this will be here. This is not something that you can remove off of the site or change the size or shape of that particular widget. Certain widgets are locked down and not able to be moved or removed. All right. That said, you can add additional things, and depending on which page will depend on which, customizations you have. So this one is a custom WYSIWYG. By the way, WYSIWYG is what you see is what you get. That's what WYSIWYG stands for. So this one is that description about what BNI is all about. So if I click the Edit WYSIWYG, it'll pull up. This is just like our old-fashioned web editor. And this is where that video is, and some text describing what BNI is. You can add pictures. I mean, this is now exactly how the old format worked. So you could just type in here. If I wanted to add a picture in here, I could go and click on the picture graphic. Where is it? Here it is. Go and find a picture. And I don't have any images in my library right now, so I can't really add anything. But again, if you've done the website editor before, that part should be fairly familiar to you. Of course, you can add widgets as well. So I can add another custom WYSIWYG, make another little part of the page here. Because everybody loves Comic Sans at 36 points. Save that. Now, I think it was Spence before. This one is drag and droppable. So I can reorder these ones by dragging and dropping them to change their order. All right. And again, we can't change these. These are standard. We're not able to remove or change these. These are changed automatically as there are new pages added and you put links to them. And let's just go ahead and save this up and publish it. Let's go back and give it a publish. Click OK. Now again, I can't go out and see the live site, but let's go ahead and check out the preview site in a second after it's done publishing. And now we have our site, and we're 2 seconds is probably too quick to do that scrolling, but you can see how it does scroll through. It now says find chapters in your area. It has my little edits in here. It has my additional WYSIWYG section in here. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward from that point on. Now, I know that Gail has a great question. Where do you recommend we put things like online forms and online payments? Okay, so for that, it's similar to what we had before. And that is that you do have to create a page for that. Now, I was on a call just this morning where we were talking about automatically adding a page in here called member resources. That would be our recommended place for putting it. But just to show you, what you would do is you would basically add a page. And let's say that you wanted a, pay for my membership, your shopping cart, because a lot of people have their PayPal and, additional ways to pay page on there. So what you would do is to put in where you want it to show up. So let's say I want it to show up after the contact us page, but before the how to join page. I want this to be maybe page 35. Call this a, pay now. And this is what the link would be. So we have our pay now page. And now we have another page that's in here. And it should put it in. When we refresh, it's now at page order 35. Now, right now, the page is off, okay? I have those choices again. Do I want it to be at the top, right? Or do I want it to be down in that box on the side? So if I put it on as the top, and publish it, now I'll have a pay now link up there. All right, so if I go out to this page, I now have a pay now link up here that I can go in and You would create your page here that has all those links, and you could have member resources, you could have a forum on here, you could have really whatever it is that you have now in that particular page. Does that make sense, Gail? Let's see. So Leslie says, additional WYSIWYG function adds content to the page we are editing. Yes. So for example, this Pay Now page, I would go in and I would edit this page. And all there is right now is the header at the top and nothing else at the moment. So I could add in a custom WYSIWYG. And this is what would then allow me to go in and edit this section of the page. Right. This also means that you can make your pages modular in that way, so you can drag and drop and move stuff around on the page without necessarily having to redesign it all the time. Save that. Right. Now I should have a, if I preview this, save it and preview it. Now we have this Pay Now page and the stuff in there. So Dawn says, this looks so much easier and cleaner to do than the current process. Yeah, it is the old tool is, about 7 years old. Actually, it's 8 years old, which is ancient in, internet terms. What is it, dog years or 7 years for every human year? Internet years must be like 20. So, I mean, it's ancient history, the old CMS, but because of these changes, you guys have to rebuild all your websites. We had to wait until it was kind of worth it, so to speak, to move over to it for the investment that you're gonna have to make in time in doing this. Let's see. Dawn says, will online applications be on this release? No, online applications are not ready yet. When they are ready, we will get them added to the regional website, but they're not ready yet. There's still work that has to be done both in BNI Connect and in Marketo for that to happen. I do not have an ETA for that. If I had to absolutely guess, I would say later in the year. Jernage, what happens when you don't use BNI Podcast as it's in English and if we don't have BNI Foundation yet? I'm going to have to check on that one. Do you know if those can be turned off at the country level, Frank? Nope.
Sorry, I was sneezing. What was the question again?
The question is on the country websites, or really for places that don't use or that don't have Foundation yet, or that don't have, because BNI Podcast is only in English. What happens with these links here down at the bottom? Can they be removed or?
Yeah, the plan is to replace it, either remove it or replace it with something else. I don't think they've officially decided what they wanted to do precisely, and I know we had a discussion going on about
do it.
But yeah, there's going to be talk about putting something else in there, like maybe having the BNI.com link there, since everybody's going to be able to link to that those kind of things.
So I think the answer to that one, Jernage, is that you can't do it on the front end right now. If you do have a concern about that, I would definitely send us a note, and I'll get that in front of Steve. Let's see. How does the subscribe to newsletter work? The subscribe to newsletter link down here basically just sends an email to you saying that somebody wants to subscribe to your newsletter, the same way it works now. And that email address for that is in your country properties. There, you can set it to be whatever email address you want. What else do we have here? I think we have another 5 minutes before the top of the hour. I mean, I'm always happy to stay on these calls until every single question is answered. But I do like to try to at least get through the content of it in the allotted time. Let's see. Leslie says, do we have the ability to create login areas for member resources or directors? I mean, the answer to that is yes. The but there's a lot of back end coding that has to get done on your part. Frank, do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, generally speaking, we try to do that. Don't tell anybody, but we try to do that outside of BNI Connect, only because inside of Connect, there's no way to organize any of the information. So having like a members only section or a leadership team only section, we usually try to handle that, and making it password protected and all that stuff. We usually try to handle that outside of Connect until one day when Connect gives us the ability to manage those better.
Awesome. So Jordan's asked that the account login at the top of the screen while we're on this topic. So all that is account login. This is BNI Connect in the BNI store. So these are shortcuts to to those places. That's really all those are. So once we have BNI University in various areas, I'll probably add a BNI University one here as well. But again, that's and I don't think we have access to control those either on the front end, correct?
Yeah, that's not editable at this point.
All right, so let's see. Did I? Jonas asks, is there a recorded webinar on site optimization? I don't know, Frank. Have you ever done a webinar on site optimization? And
actually, I was just thinking when you were talking about that, I was just thinking we probably should do one. Because there's like very simple things you can do that will greatly enhance your SEO, and we could certainly talk a lot about that. We should probably schedule one.
Yeah, we'll get one scheduled, and we'll get that out there for you guys to jump onto if you'd like. All right, good idea. Jordan says, will regional sites have links to the country site at the top? I do not believe they do. That might be another one for Frank to put on the list for a suggestion, to link back to the country level site. You can link into the region level site from the country site, but I don't believe you can get back out to the country site from the region level site. So I think it's a great suggestion, though. Spencer says, do we have to find a member on the new system? Yeah, let me show you that real quick. So let's take a look at the Shiver region here. Let me get into the Shiver region and get into the preview site here. So we do have the find a member down here at the bottom. And this search works exactly the same way that the search works. In BNI Connect, didn't find any Jeremys. I thought I had an account up there, but let's see. See if Alfred E. Newman is there. He is. And then there's his profile. He even has a video on his profile. All right, so that's how the find a member works on there. And all right, do we have any other? George says, what about forming chapters? Okay, so forming chapters by default, I believe that is off. No, forming chapters is on. So let's go back here, and here's the. Where is it? No, it says it's on the side. My chapters forming link is on the side. But I don't seem to have the. Frank, is that a bug there? Oh, you know what? I'm not on the right site. That's why. There we go. There's the chapters forming. I had too many tabs open. I confused myself. And there it is. I mean, here's all our forming chapters here. My Frozen Assets 3 chapter in super cold South Kingstown. Yep. And again, it does list the director consultants, but it still does not list the members out. So yes, the side links are at the bottom of the page. So yes, the side links are at the bottom of the page. So these are considered the top links up here. These are the top links. These are the side links. Yeah, it probably should be called bottom or black box links. Claudia says she loves the names, Albert Camus, and those are all my testing names. So let's see. Janine says, thanks for all the hard work. Love the updates and can't wait to see the final project. So again, we are going live with this in about a week and a half on the 15th. Sometime next week, we're going to be getting it on our second staging server. If you have access to train BNI Connect, I know, we do offer that out to people. We do have a whole training system that is available for you to play with. If you would like to play with it, just log in to www.trainbniconnect.com. If you don't have access to that, or you've lost your password or whatever, send us a support ticket. We will reset your account. And sometime next week, I don't know the exact day, but I'm hoping it's earlier in the week, this new CMS functionality will appear in the train system. You cannot port it over to the live system once we have the release. This would be strictly just as a playground to familiarize yourself with it. It will not be moved over. You do have to start from scratch once we go live on the 15th, but you can play with it probably next week. I do not know what day it is yet, but if you need an account for that, again, support ticket is the best way to do that, and we'll get you set up. Bob says, can a WYSIWYG be used or added to the chapters forming area? Yes, it can be. So if I go to the chapters forming area here, and by the way, we are at the top of the hour. If anybody needs to leave, feel free to leave. You're excused. Anybody that wants to stay and play and ask more questions, feel free to hang out. This is what I do all day, every day, is work with you guys on BNI Connect. So this is your time. I'm happy to stay as long as you want me to. The chapters forming here. So yes, we can add the WYSIWYG content. Some stuff we can edit, some stuff we can't. So like this chapters forming, that's going to be the list of the chapters. Right. So this is really all we can do is change, the actual titles, because this is that list, right? So you can change what it says here. This is where other countries, like Gernage, this is where you would actually translate the word city into your language, is through this setting here. But you could add another WYSIWYG. So if I wanted to go in and either edit this one, or I wanted to add a picture or a graphic to the top of it, I could do that through here. Vin says, what is the train site again? So it's trainbniconnect.com. Trainbniconnect.com. Right? And you do have to have a login. It is, this is, so what it is, we have 3 servers, right? So right now I'm on a server called Track BNI Connect. This is our staging server for testing. The train server is for training and translation. This server you guys can use for training when you're doing things like leadership team training. It has a copy, an older copy of the BNI Connect database on it. So if I was to log into this one, it has older data. So the data is from about 8 months ago. So a lot of members have dropped out of the system because nobody's going in and renewing, nobody's adding new members to it or anything like that. But it has the identical same system code as BNI Connect does, up until about a week before release. Then this is our final testing server before we go live with the functionality, and it also gives the people in other countries about a week to translate all the new functionality in BNI Connect. So if you'd like to use this system, you can set up a whole fake chapter for people to log into at leadership team training if you want to. There are certain things that are scrambled on this system. For example, because this is, it's a functioning, active piece of software, everybody's email addresses are scrambled on it, so that you're not getting duplicate, renewal reminders and exit interviews and all that kind of stuff. So that because of that, you can't go in and just reset your own password or anything. So if you would like a login to this, your username would end up being the same as it is in BNI Connect, but we'd reset your password for you. And again, you don't have to worry about messing anything up because it is just a test copy of the server. It is slow. I will tell you that. It is on a very old piece of hardware. You will get pop-ups like that saying waiting, waiting, waiting while it goes through and it does its thing. It's still trying to pull up my profile here. So hopefully that helps you, Vince. Janine says, if we launch our site, can the chapters still access their old sites to get pictures and info? Yes, the old sites will not be deleted. They should still be accessible as a preview site. You cannot get into them live anymore, but they should still be able to get into the back end of the site. So if they wanted to grab snippets of code or anything like that, they should be able to still do that. All right, and again, once you're ready to go live, you need to submit a support ticket. And usually about 2 business days, we'll do the back end things necessary in order to switch you from the old site to the new site. But we are not going to do it until you tell us you're ready to do it. Let's see. Frederick says, what are the options on the BNI blog widget on the bottom of the page? So that would be, let's see, going back here. So which are you referring to, Frederick, for the blog widget at the bottom of the page? So that would be on the home page. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, I think he's thinking about the feed, the
news,
the live feed that we have at the bottom. Yeah, the news feed.
Yeah, that's this right here. What you're talking about, the latest from BNI. I think the options are really just whether you want to turn it on and off. That's really all there is for that. That is the news feed from BNI headquarters. So there's really no other options for that. Leslie says, what are the testimonial pages on the WYSIWYG? So the testimonial pages, so if I was to add a testimonial page, this is where you can do links to a testimonial. Right, so basically a video testimonial. Snippets, social media snippets and social media footers. Frank, do you have anything set up on a site with actual snippets on it?
I have it on the live CMS. I don't have it on the new CMS. I have to find a site that has it all set up and
Vince, I don't know. Let me see. Give me a second here. I'm going to see if one of these sites that Delivery Blueprints has set up in their testing has anything on there. Yeah, they don't have one on there. Let's see. Does Australia have one? I doubt Australia is going to have one. While I'm doing that, is the plan still to have BNI Connect unavailable all day on the 15th? Yes. Here we go. This site has a social media snippet on it. So let's take a look at this this particular site and see what that looks like. And that one is this site here, and that's this. All right, so that's what these social media snippets are, and you can still do something like that on the individual pages if you want to, although this keeps it static across the entire site when it's done that way. But again, that's only available on the country site. Now, if that's something that you think should be available on the region sites, then you can definitely, put that in as a suggestion. Frank, maybe you want to put that on your list as well, that should be available on region sites. Journey says you can also have things like, chat with us or call us or text us, that type of thing. All right. I think I've hit every question. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints, compliments? I do have I'm starting to build the library for the help section for this. It is on the support site. So if you go to support.bniconnect.com, you do have to be signed in because this is director content. So now that I'm signed in, I should see director and admin documentation. And we have the CMS regional websites. I'm going to change that. It's not going to say regional websites. It's just going to say CMS website management. But here, we have I have started creating your new regional and chapter websites. And there is a quick video and some step-by-step documents on exactly what you have to do to get that created. So I'm starting to build that. I'll start to build in other help documents, a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. Mark says, are we able to organize our image and document library? I don't believe that there is any like folder organization or anything to that. There's just the actual library filled up with pictures, but let's just double check that. Forgive me for not knowing the answer right offhand, because again, I'm learning this too. I'm in the same boat as all you guys. All right, so the library, here's the library. I can upload files to this library. And I think just like the last one, you can probably do up to 5 images at once. So let's say I wanted to bring some of these images up there. 2, I'm going to try 5 of them. And it just brought up the 5 images for me. Frank, have you ever tried to do more than 5? Is it still limited to only 5? And that's it. Now I have them. No, there is no way to create folders or organize them or anything else like that. I think it's just putting them in alphabetical order, if I'm not mistaken. But now those will be available for my website if I want to add those into a WYSIWYG. Dawn says, is there a way to add a live chat function? So again, that would be adding that code snippet to a widget on your site. If they end up putting that in the region sites to have that available, then that's where you'd put it under settings. But again, there isn't that ability right now, but you could add it in to a WYSIWYG section. If and when you're ready to do that, I would say shoot us a support ticket, and Frank can probably walk you through that in greater detail. All right. Any other questions? And questions, comments, concerns, complaints, compliments? All right. And again, this is recorded. We will make it available as quickly as possible. Maybe we'll get this out in the Fast 5 on Tuesday, a link to it. And that's it. That's all I got for you. Mark says, go ski. No. I'm not going to be breaking my leg anytime soon. I don't think I've skied in about 25 years. Leslie does have another quick question before I let you go. How would documents be accessed in the library? So if you wanted to put a document up there, they get accessed by a link. So I could put documents up here. Let's upload a PDF file or something like that. Let's see. Do I have a PDF file I can use? So here's a PDF file. I'm going to upload that. It's uploaded. So now if I go into let me go into one of my pages and go to my home page, let's say, and go into this. Oh, bad choice. Let me go into an actual WYSIWYG here. download our chapter map. Right? I could go in here, create a link. Frank, stop me if I'm doing this wrong. Browse this, go into Documents, click the link, and now this would be attached to that. So if I go in and I save this, and let's go and preview this, save it and preview it. All right, now there should be in this download our chapter map. Click that, and boom, there's somebody's application that I had downloaded. All right. There is unlimited, you're limited, I believe, to 5 megabytes per file, but there is not a limit to how many files you can put up there. All right, so you are limited by the size of the individual files, but not by how many you can put up there. Jill says, great job. Super excited for the mobile-friendly platform as well as the modern look and feel. Thank you. I didn't do any of this work myself. I just have the privilege and pleasure of showing it to you. Frank has put a lot of input on this on the back end. Mike Fitton and Steve Schwartz and Megan Chitwood and Delivery Blueprints. They've done the majority of the back end work with this. So definitely next time you see Mike Fitton, give him a high five for this one. He had a lot to do with it. All right, going once. We only went 17 minutes over. Not bad. In the back of my mind, I thought we'd be done in about a half hour. Going twice. And sold. All right, well, have an absolutely wonderful day, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. In the meantime, happy connecting.